I went from making under $2 million in revenue to boom, everything back to zero, and then building it all up again. And to be honest, it was my fault. Like, I got into some partnerships that I shouldn't have. The product ended up going bad and I ended up losing a lot of money. I think it's only appropriate that I first and foremost start off this story with just my childhood in general. I'm not going to sit here and give you the typical sob story where, you know, my parents were poor, etc., etc. We were a middle-class family. We were doing just fine. My father provided everything. You know, my mother was essentially the housewife, right? She handled the home. And very, very traditional, basic Muslim family. But my father instilled something within me very, very young, which was essentially very, very competitive nature. First and foremost, I grew up with him trying like 100 different businesses. You know, he was always the type of guy to try so many different things. And I really picked that up from him, to consistently just strive forward and constantly experiment. And then he actually started forcing me when I was young, even though I wanted to play games. He was like, no, you're learning how to do Photoshop, you're learning how to video edit, etc., etc. And I did, you know, the days where it was like really, really difficult to push forward, I started then making content about that stuff, like making video editing tutorials and Photoshop tutorials. My dad used to comment on my videos when I used to get 5 views, and he used to make fake accounts to motivate me and drive me forward. So that's something I'll never, ever forget about my father. And that's what got me into content creation in the first place. Slowly, I went into freelancing. Bear in mind, I was only about 13, 14 years of age at that time. I never ever had a job in my life except 2 months, a small summer job, which is basically part-time, within a pet shop, that I just kind of got the job because I was essentially in love with like tropical fish and stuff like that. I was always in the pet shop, so they wanted someone that was knowledgeable about it. After that, I never ever got a job. So I spent my whole time freelancing, eventually got into the trading space. And the trading space, you know, I've been in that space for 6 years, did incredibly well. We had multiple different offers. We eventually landed on what? We landed on a trading algorithm system. And I full-heartedly believed in that algorithm. I had a lot of my money within it. I had family's money, friends' money, like everyone was on it. We were making a lot of money. At the same time, I was making a lot of money selling the robot as well. So the whole ecosystem was great, making a lot of money. As I said, we scaled it to in and about some months just a tiny bit lower than 100K dollars a month, and then some months just above. And this was consistent for nearly about 2 years. So it was going really well. And then everything came tumbling down because I had no control over the product. So that was the number one mistake, is I had no control over the product. And when you white label these things, you take the hit reputationally. So what ended up happening was that I lost not all of my money, like obviously I didn't have all my money within the bot, but I lost all of the money that was in the bot, right? So not all the money in total, I mean. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. And it was really hard, and I had to take that hit reputationally. I had to, you know, speak to a lot of people face to face, etc., etc. It was really difficult. And I decided that that's not the business that I want to be in anymore. And it was all due to bad partnerships that give me bad product. So a lot of it wasn't even the product itself, it was mistakes and management. But I'm not going to get too deep into that because I chose my reputation, I chose the principle of it, because how can I keep pushing forward a product that I knew wasn't legit anymore? So that's why we ended it there. But I learned one thing from that. Like there was one thing that stood the test of time, which was my personal brand. You see, although my personal brand wasn't huge, right? I grew to maybe about 20,000 followers on YouTube and grew to 16,000 followers. It generated all of that income first and foremost, but it's the exact same personal brand that moving forward now has also gotten me the exact same clients, right? For what I'm doing now, which is for Perceptionism Lab. And it's really interesting because when you're able to build such a strong personal brand with good morals, good ethics, good principles, and genuinely have something that's unique and different. And I'm not speaking just from like your personality or your character, but also like your methodology. When it's really different. Even if you go through some of the worst scenarios ever, it will stand the test of time. Then I needed to understand, okay, the personal brand was great. It wasn't just the content though. Like the content was great, cool, but there was something underneath the content that's given it that effect. Because there's a lot of people that are within my industry that I know the exact same thing happened to them and they absolutely got demolished, right? Why? There was something beneath it. And this is where the whole concept of perception engineering came about. The whole concept of being incredibly intentful, behind your content came about. Because the typical content creator, or not the content creator, but the business owner that tries to make content for their business, they'll just batch record everything, sit down, and just look at the trends, get AI to script a bit of content and think this is going to get you clients, it's going to bring in the leads. But it doesn't, and especially not in this day and age, because in this day and age we have such saturation within the content environment in general. There's so much content out there. People are actually being more selective with their attention, and people are being more selective with their money. There's a trust recession, there's an attention recession, there's a recession of bloody everything. And people are very, very selective, which is why you need to be incredibly intentful in the way that you engineer your content, in the way that you engineer your positioning, right? In the way that you even DM set those people that have come from your content, in the way that your funnel is positioned, your profile funnel is positioned, small things that people never used to pay attention to, it's become incredibly important to pay attention to that. And the exact stuff that I broke down within my personal brand, I spent 4 months every single day breaking down and analyzing the exact pillars, the exact concepts, so that I can actually make this into a productized, repeatable process. Because a lot of the time when you work with like these content gurus or coaches or whatever it is, right, they've no repeatable process. It's like they try to get you views, they try to get you engagement, and maybe 1 or 2 videos blows up. And if you're lucky, if the video was semi-decent, it'll generate a couple of leads. But how can you do this in a way that's productized and just repeatable, duplicatable, no matter the category, no matter the industry, no matter the person? It still works, it still generates clients, it still scales people's businesses. And that's exactly what I figured out. And my whole concept essentially lies on the fact that you first need to understand your buyer and your audience's psychology, because that's the foundation of everything. How people think, how people consume, how people spend. Once you understand these things, you are able to then engineer content. You're able to then engineer your positioning, your message in a way that resonates with the people that consume your content, that resonates with the people that are looking to buy or purchase your services or solutions. And this is incredibly important. So the first part, of course, was understanding the buyer psychology. The next part is how to deliver on that. How do you make content that, first and foremost, belief shifts them, content that hits their pain points, content that moves people along the nurturing cycle, along the sales cycle, in a way that people just come pre-sold on calls. And this is how I know if what we were doing was successful or not. The minute we started noticing that people were hopping on sales calls and they're just buying straight away, that's how you know your content is doing. Like your content actually has like a commercial job essentially behind it, right? And that's exactly the thing that I'm doing for some of the biggest personal brands right now. And it's not only just like the ideation that we're doing, we handle the whole lead acquisition side of things, because I believe that it's a whole ecosystem. And if one part of the ecosystem doesn't work, it drags down everything else. Meaning that if you have great content that brings in leads, but you can't DM set or close them, then what the hell is the point, right? You're just wasting that, which is why we handle the paid side of things for the paid ads, because we run ads to your profile, because we use the profile as a funnel within itself. We handle the ideation, the scripting, the editing, the absolute whole ecosystem for our clientele, so that all they really need to do is just sit down and record the content pieces that we've given them. And we know that pieces of content are intentful, that they actually have a proper commercial job behind it. And the most interesting part for me with this whole thing of working with these personal brands is that every personal brand is incredibly different. Like every personal brand is incredibly, incredibly different. Every niche is different. Every individual is different. Yet there's always repeatable things, little repeatable processes that people don't understand. And if you actually know how to fully diagnose, right? If you fully know how to diagnose these things, it becomes incredibly, incredibly easy to consistently duplicate the success. And this is then also why I own the whole category of perception engineering in general, because I have the belief, which has been proven multiple times, is that your perception matters more than people. Like most people think, and we have this cliche sentence or quote you can say, is that don't judge a book by its cover. But that's like really, really untrue. People do judge the book by its cover, because like people need to first and foremost get a sense that they're going to get a reward from even reading the book in the first place. So if there's no cover, why the hell is someone going to go through the whole process? Which is why it's incredibly important that you give off the perception of authority. You give off the perception that you're successful. You give off the perception that what you have is the only method that works compared to everyone else. And if not the only method that works, but the best method that works compared to everyone else. And when you know how to perceive yourself in a way where the perception of you is actually as good as how good that you believe that you are and how good your value is, then that's where you actually end up finding true alignment. Is that most people, they're quite good at what they do, but they don't know how to show it. And that's why people struggle to scale past 20, 30K months. That's why most people will never even hit the 100K months. What we also do currently with our clients as well at the moment is the way we work is very, very different. While everyone else goes out there and does consulting and, all the other personal brands, and they come in and they tell you, just do this, change that. And this is a problem that I've noticed a lot from speaking to a lot of different people and speaking to my current clients, is that they hire these people for retainers and they just produce just good looking content. But good looking content doesn't mean that it's content that's going to sell. And the whole issue with that is that most personal branding coaches and most content gurus have never even first and foremost built their own business. Is that if you don't understand how content actually can make you money, and if you've never done it for yourself, then how the hell can you do it for other people? And that's the deficiency that I've noticed within the market. So this is why we ended up taking it in two models. I personally, not maybe a team member that I've trained, no, me personally, I go in. First and foremost, there's essentially two options where we go in and we consult, right? Which is me personally. I consult on your whole content strategy, shape up your whole offer, shape up your whole positioning, and also provide you with 30 days of content so you just get a head start. This is a whole content strategy, the whole funnel from A to Z, sorted out. So your lead acquisition, after that consulting period, which is typically 90 days, is sorted. But the one where we actually push our clients to is the done for you. Because we come in and we execute everything for you. You pretty much have full batch of content completely ready. You just press record. Now we handle everything after record to it going out on your page. And it's not just the content that's been handled, but the whole major macro infrastructure of content, because content in itself doesn't mean anything. It's everything around the content that actually makes it what it is, so that it can actually make you money and so you can actually scale your brand. And this is the way we work with clients, because this is the most successful way to do it. When we hold everything within our hands, because we're the professionals at the end of the day. We know more than you when it comes to content, and that's the truth. And this is why we work with a performance model as well, is that we don't necessarily just take a retainer, but we need to take a specific small rev share within your business as well, because it motivates us and it puts something on the line for us as well, is that when we scale you, we also make money as well. And that's the problem with most people when they work with retainers, is that your company that you work with or the agency will just only do enough just to keep you happy, but they don't go above and beyond. And this is why it's imperative for us, because when we only, even with just 10 clients, we easily make over 6 figures. Easily make over 6 figures, while other agencies are only making about $50,000 a month with like 50 clients. And this allows us to give our all for our clients. So if you're a business owner doing in and around 30 to 50K a month, you're struggling to scale past that, then I'm offering you a free perception diagnosis. Essentially, I'll go into your whole content strategy. We'll break down your whole infrastructure on social media, and I'll break down this exactly where the gaps are and the things that need major improvement. And this is not a sales call, so you're not going to be hopping on with my sales team. You're going to be hopping on with me personally, and I'll break that down with you live on call. So book it down below.